Welcome to Truth and Nothing But, Episode 6, The Shameful Wealth Gap. This episode includes Miss Solana Rice. The link to the full video is in the description. Like and subscribe there. Peace.
You drink too much coffee. You eat out too much. You shouldn't buy that fancy phone. You don't know how to budget. That's why you don't have any money. Maybe you've heard these reasons for why you're struggling to get by. People of color hear them all the time. They are lies. Listen up. To understand this struggle in America, we have to look at the role of race in our economy. For people of color in the US, the root of our financial insecurity stems from institutional racism and white supremacy that has existed since the founding of this country. Let's start with home ownership. Buying a house is supposed to be the way middle-class Americans build wealth. Of course, these days, many Americans are struggling to make this dream come true, and for people of color, it used to be practically impossible. And that was by design. By design. Starting in the 1930s, Black people in this country were systematically denied the opportunity to purchase homes because of a racist scheme called redlining. Majority Black and brown neighborhoods were literally colored in red and shut out of home loans. The past plagues us today. 60% of those redline communities remain low-income minority neighborhoods. You've heard of subprime mortgages, right? Those products that wrecked the economy in 2008 and destroyed Black and Latino wealth? Well, they were generated during the redlining era. Housing is just one bit of institutional racism that hinders the ability of people of color to build wealth. That's to say nothing of slavery and Jim Crow laws, which led us to mass incarceration. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let me catch you up. So, acknowledging that the past was rigged, we can better understand our present. And in the present, the racial wealth gap is enormous. And when I say wealth, we're not talking about being rich. Wealth is what you own, your house, car, savings, or business, minus what you owe. Credit card debt, student loan debt, fines, etc. Getting things you can own, like a house or something that grows in value over time, like education, is often a result of what your parents are able to help you with. And in the case of many people of color, our parents aren't able to contribute much financially, if at all. Over generations, Black and brown families become shut out from acquiring the cornerstones of wealth. And that's how we get situations like this today. Listen to this. For every $100 in white family wealth, Black families hold just $5.04. Another one. Even when Black and Latinx households earn a solidly middle-class income, they accrue just a fraction of the wealth of white households. Black and Latinx families headed by a college graduate have less wealth than families headed by white high school dropouts. And this one is unreal. By the middle of this century, Black and Latinx median household wealth will nearly be zero. Hopefully you're starting to understand how shaming people, especially people of color, for a cup of coffee or a nice dinner out is ludicrous. It's time for a reckoning. But that is not what is happening. Policymakers and wealthy corporations are doubling down on inequality. Look no further than the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. According to one study, on average, white households received an estimated $2,020 in cuts, while Latinx households received just $970, and Black households received $840. Shameful. It's shameful, for example, that while worker productivity is up, wages are not rising for Black and Latinx workers. And remember when I mentioned mass incarceration? It is yet another profit-driven, predatory system that strips savings and earnings from people of color. We make up 67% of the prison population, despite only being 37% of the US population. Our families, especially women, spend billions of dollars in unfair fines and fees that cause financial instability and too often multi-generational poverty. Mass incarceration and detention determines both economic and political outcomes for too many families of color. Policing the minute decisions about how people of color spend their disposable income is a distraction. It's a distraction from the systems of injustice we have collectively and historically created and continue to perpetuate. You have the power to bring truth to light. You know the real story, so write it. Tell someone, tell us. We know that in order to have survived in a country we've been told is not ours, people of color have been and continue to be resilient, entrepreneurial, and deserving. Tell us your story of resilience. Tell your policymakers. Press candidates to tell you what they are doing to upend racial wealth inequality. And make it easier for you to pay that next bill, to afford healthcare and a home, to send your kids to college, to save for retirement. Tell them you deserve no less than a robust plan that rewrites our future stories.